Ambassador, thank you very much. And Mr. President, thanks for the welcome. Thanks for having us here. And we sent you our best. We sent you Brzezinski as our ambassador, and I'm glad he's here as well. And as you and I have spoken before, Mr. Mr. President, the single most important thing that we can do from the outset is keep the democracies united in our opposition and our effort to curtail the devastation that is occurring at the hands of a man who I quite frankly think is a war criminal. And I think it will meet the legal definition of that as well. But I want to thank everyone and I think it's been a surprise at how we've all stayed together across the board. The most severe punishing sanctions in the history of the world. Economic sanctions have been imposed, and there's more that will come. But there's still an awful lot of suffering. I, like many of you in the past, have been through refugee camps all around the world, literally, and seen the devastation as a consequence of people who are abandoned and in war-ravaged regions of the world, whether it's in the Middle East or Africa or wherever. I mean, it's just devastating to see those little babies, little children, and looking at mothers who you don't have to understand the language they speak. You just see in their eyes pain, and I mean literally pain, watching their children. I don't think there's anything worse for a parent than to see a child suffering, their child suffering. I mean that sincerely. It's not hyperbole. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And so what you, the humanitarian community, are doing is of such enormous consequence. Brother, this is what we say we're about. This is what we say that our obligations are. But you're living up to it. We're doing it every day, all of you that are sitting at this table. And so, I'm here in Poland to see firsthand the humanitarian crisis. And quite frankly, part of my disappointment is that I can't see it firsthand like I have in other places. They will not let me, understandably, I guess it, cross the border and take a look at what's going on in Ukraine. But I'm eager to hear from you and the humanitarian community about what you see, what you're doing, and where you think we go from here, because you're doing it every day. As has been pointed out, 10 million people have been displaced thus far. 3.8 million people to other countries, including more than 1 million children. And according to the UN, there are thousands of civilian casualties, 12 million in need of assistance, but hundreds of thousands of people who are being cut off from help by Russian forces and are besieged in places like Mariupol. I mean, it's not stopping. It's like something out of a science fiction movie. You turn on the television and see what these towns look like in the cities. I want to thank each one of you and your organizations. Excuse me. I was visiting our troops and they had pizza pie with hot peppers on it. Yes, I did. But you're helping millions of people, and we must have to continue to scale up that assistance, coordinate it closely with the government of Ukraine, which is really, I think even you Poles who know Ukraine so well have to be a little bit surprised at how much courage and capacity for resilience the Ukrainian people. When you see a 30-year-old woman standing there in front of a tank with a rifle. I mean, talk about what happened in Tiananmen Square. That's Tiananmen Square squared. And look, whether it's food or blanket or cash or the care for medical teams that we send in for our child welfare specialists, they need it now. They need it as rapidly as we can get it there. And so yesterday I announced on behalf of the American people, we're prepared to provide another $1 billion, as the ambassador pointed out, $1 billion for those who fled and those who are affected around the world as a consequence of the negative impact of this war on food security. The bad news is they're in the breadbasket of the world, Ukraine and Russia. But we, the United States, are going to do our part because we're the third largest producer of wheat in the world. And our Canadian friends are going to do the same thing. But we're going to try very hard. But in the meantime, the suffering that's taking place now is at your doorstep. You're the ones that are risking, in some cases, your lives and risking all you know to try to help. And the American people are proud to support your efforts. And today I want to hear from all of you. The problem is I know they're going to tell me I have to get in the plane. I'm going to have to leave, but I have a lot of questions because I really mean it. I learn a great deal from you and your counterparts as I travel the world in the last 30 years. And so I'm honored that President Duda is here today and joined by Secretary Blinken. He's an old friend as well as my Secretary of State and our USAID Administrator, Samantha Powers, who, like my sister, whatever I say, she says, it's not enough. It's not enough. I don't get to do more.